Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rule, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true.
Welcome to Night After Night, a podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Lisa Fernandes, and
I am Chris Jayawardena.
we're here with the 4th episode of the 2nd season of Laverne and Shirley, Excuse Me, May I Cut In? Directed by John Thomas Lennox and written by Fred Fox Jr., and I do believe Chris has facts about the two of them.
Yeah, so John Thomas Lennox was also the director of How Do You Say Are You Dead in German from the last season, which is definitely one of my favorite episodes. As I also mentioned before on that episode, he also was the second AD on The Outfit by John Flynn, which is one of my favorite 70s crime movies. And he primarily, as I found out in a little further research, was the unit production manager for many episodes of Laverne and Shirley, and would continue to do pretty much just kind of stay in that position for quite a bit of his career. Cute little trivia note that's going to become relevant in a moment is that he also was the unit production manager on Splash, directed by Ron Howard. As for the author of this episode, or the writer of this episode, Fred Fox Jr., this was actually his first major writing credit, it appears, and he was a writer and supervising producer on later Happy Day seasons. And he also worked on Family Matters. And you'll notice, actually, as the season goes on, I was doing a little research ahead. Family Matters had a lot of Laverne and Shirley season 2 alums on it.
Yes, yeah.
Fred Fox Jr. also appears later in a Laverne and Shirley episode as a bellhop, apparently. So we'll get a chance to see him on camera.
That's cool.
Super side trivia note is that he also created a series called My Secret Identity, which helped give the television world Jerry O'Connell, which, as a Sliders fan, I just had to make sure to make that known.
That's cool. I did not know that. I had no idea that was Jerry O'Connell's first role.
At the very least, this is his first major TV role.
Yeah.
Because he's in Stand By Me, isn't he?
Yeah. As a little kid, he was in Stand By Me. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think he did other roles as a child actor. Don't think of it. Yeah. That's cool. That's really neat. This is what the episode's about. When the girls' TV set explodes and causes a building-wide blackout, they get desperate for replacements. After begging Fred for extra money and coming up short, they turn to Carmine and thanks to some new inside information they learned through him, they think that they have their replacement locked down. It seems that the grand prize at Jefferson High School's latest dance is a brand new set of his and hers television sets. A crafty Shirley decides to enlist her old date, Richie Cunningham, to get the prize. Using Richie, they plan to get his best friend Potsie Weber, Jefferson High's best dancer, to perform with Laverne at the dance. Unfortunately, Deborah Lee, Potsie's original date, kicks Potsie in the shins, forcing the girls to take drastic measures to win their sets. What do you think of this episode?
This was a blast.
Yeah.
This is definitely, so far of season 2, this was one of the ones that really kind of hits on a lot of different cylinders. It's I think part of it is, I hate to admit this, is that I've forgotten how much I actually did enjoy Happy Days as a kid. I watched Happy Days, and I think around the time Laverne and Shirley started showing up on Nick at Night was when I sort of was going into other stuff. I looked it up later that Laverne and Shirley started hitting Nick at Night around 98 or so.
Yeah.
And that was when I was getting caught up on horror movies. That was when Dad and I were catching up on Lamberto Bava's Demons and all the Romero Dead films and Phantasm and all of that. So I was lost in scaring the hell out of myself over there while Laverne and Shirley was going. But Happy Days I watched so regularly. So it was great to see Ron and Anson, in this episode, and to even see, the Jefferson High, and realizing that was why that Jefferson High School was stuck in my brain somewhere deep.
Yeah.
But in terms of the content of this episode, it's preciously adorable. It's very sitcom-y in the way it's timed, and a lot of that's, I think, for the laugh, with the live audience.
Yeah.
But the physical comedy is fantastic. The dance scene itself is great, and there's a lot of wonderful little details in this, including the bit with Edna at the beginning.
Yes.
And, this is our first real getting to see a lot of her here.
Yes, I was mentioning that.
Immediately adore her. She's perfect as this mother figure, and she's perfect as a mother figure that's not like a joke mother figure. It's that the idea is that she actually is witty. She is a witty person, and I love that about her. And just elements, just so many elements throughout the episode, even though the Lucille thing, still grates on my nerves a little bit. but it's good. I really enjoy this one. I'm actually kind of struggling to like figure out how I want to rank this one later in in our podcast here. So I don't know. But what about you? How was it coming back to this one?
It's a lot of fun. This is a fun little episode. The chemistry between Ron Howard and Cindy Williams is off the charts, really nice. He might be my favorite romantic interest for her, even though it's kind of uncomfortable because he's a senior in high school and she's like manipulating his butt to get him to get her what she needs. But even by the end they're on a genuine playing field. But it's kind of awk in a few ways. But yeah, this is the first appearance of Betty Garrett as Edna Babish. And she is so good and so natural in this role. There's a woman who's lived a lot. She knows how to handle her business. She's got a lot of fondness for these girls, and even for her tenants, even for the boys who exasperate her. Even from the start, the boys are exasperating her. And it's just great. It's just perfect role for her, and perfect missing puzzle piece sliding into place, so to speak. Yeah.
It's kind of one of those, now that she's here, you realize it was kind of like you knew something was like maybe like it wasn't perfect quite yet, and it's like she just slides into the cast just like, and it's like, aha, now it makes sense. Now everything works. It's the missing gear.
The way she fits in and the way she manages to add this kind of sassy little bit of humor to the show while also grounding it and giving the girls somewhere to look to and someone to ask for help and someone to get them out of their jams sometimes. She's just perfect. You're gonna continue loving her. You're gonna probably love her more and more as time goes on.
I mean, that's gonna be pretty impressive because I love her a lot already. I love the bit when so Shirley sets up the story about, this is the television set I got him from my aunt from my Sweet 16 before she told me I was going to be a tramp. And then Edna says someone in her family said I was going to be a tramp, but I got married before she could be proven right. Yeah. And then Laverne brings it home with that big dopey grin, and my aunt is a tramp.
Yeah. I'm gonna go see her this summer.
Well, it's probably the case of, she gets to hear a lot of amazing stories, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's her goal. Her goal is to figure out why she's got so many guys and to get those guys. A cute little exchange, and that's just the flavor of the relationship and the way it keeps going. It's really good.
It's so good. Yeah, and I love her exasperation with the boys. Last time the power went out, they thought it was a communist sneak attack. Yeah. They're probably, they're probably building defenses upstairs or. Yeah. Oh gosh. It's fantastic. Yeah. And I mean that's only like discussing only the first few minutes. Like, as soon as we get, really the episode gets going with the plan to get the to get the new TV, going to the pizza bowl and asking Pop, and I love he opens up the cash register. It's like, hey, you want air? There's a bunch of air in there.
That was great.
Oh, it's great. And
the way it just loops everything. And I love that Potsie once came into the pizza bowl, asked for a pizza with extra cheese, and cried until Frank gave him extra cheese. You can picture it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. God, yeah. And then the what's his name? Yeah. And then of course Carmine has to show up, which is fine. I mean, Eddie choreographed the dance at the end. Yeah. So,
he did. I was wondering if that was his work.
Yeah, it's credited at the end of the episode.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yep.
Gifted dancer.
Oh boy, and Lucille. God. God. Yeah, I have another note in here there's some choice words that I'll leave for after we're done recording this.
I was going to specifically mention that the choreography was really, really good. And I'm not shocked that was him because he does some really, 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 really good dance stuff that they choreographed later in the series. But it's really good the way he manages to blend real good dancing with real good physical humor. So I wanted to give a special note on that.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I mean, as much as I give the character a lot of crap, I mean, Eddie was definitely talented. And especially physically, I mean, throughout that first season, you see some wonderful moments of just his rhythm and his timing. And and the like. So I mean, it's definitely, and to do that, that's, even if it's something that's supposed to come off as silly or incompetent, it's, that's actually harder in some ways. You have to do it right and then learn how to do it wrong. It's what does they say is that it's the easiest thing is to play someone who's smart. The hardest thing is to play someone who's dumb.
Yeah. I was going to mention everything about Lucille and Carmine. Like, we see that this boy toy relationship is going on. She's giving him more and more stuff. And what's interesting is that he's like really enjoying it. In one hand, and on the other hand, he's at a beck and call. So I thought interesting dichotomy.
That's that is actually a good point. So that makes you wonder how much of the relationship it's, he's liking it for now, but like if at some point he's ever going to get sick of it, or he's going to have the bad days that are like, what am I doing? I shouldn't have gotten involved here.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. But as that scene goes on, that's when we get to that wonderful punchline of the scene of like, it's like, we're doing this, for a TV. What do we do? What would you do for color TV? We don't do those things. And so that got me off on this wonderful little research tangent that we were talking about. You and I were talking a bit earlier today about color TV and when did it exist? Was 1957, 58, and this probably be 58 is what we figure. Was color television around? And it was. Yeah. To my surprise. Yeah. It looks like some of the first commercially available color television sets are like as early as like 54. It seems like. Yeah. And that they even had started doing the original experiments with electric color television back in it looks like around like the 1940s. So there were even shows that actually realizing this was going to be a thing, they started filming in color as early as like 49 or 51. Wow. So as much as it's a tad anachronistic because by 58 it wasn't really being adopted very much, although it especially that a lot of TV shows didn't shoot that way. The few that did were like they said like a season cost more than like a Hollywood movie at the time. So it took another like 7 or 8 years before they really adopted it, but it is plausible. So good on them for being able to make a joke that just barely squeaks by in terms of historical accuracy.
It's really cool. It's really cool that they managed to. Sometimes the show manages to get history just right. There are several points where everything gets skipped ahead or gets skipped back, or we lose whole chunks of years as the show progresses. We'll get to that down the line. But sometimes they get the research just right. Sometimes it's just perfect. I was going to go back to Carmine. It's interesting his relationship with Shirley here, where she's like dragging him like around, like trying to get him to tell Laverne about the contest and how she's leaning on him for all this information, and yet he's still off of Lucille, and yet they're more and more like intimate, like physically and also emotionally beyond like a friend phase. So their relationship continues to be interesting, and they're not officially together yet. Right. Again. So I thought that was interesting.
God, and then I will want to say two things. Actually, no, just the one thing that I think about it because I covered one of the others. What was it? 8 countries in 6 days? Yeah. That's not fun. Yeah. That's not fun. Nobody. Not really. That is I'm going to do you this thing, but God, I can imagine Carmine coming back from that and realizing, oh, this was a bad idea. Because I've known people that have done like 2 weeks across most of Europe, and you could tell like when they tell the stories about it, they don't remember much. Like they pretty much just saw like an airport and a hotel room for about 12 hours, and then like went around a couple spots, and then they were done. And and they didn't really get to go to the place. They stopped over in it. It was a layover more than anything. Yeah. So yeah. So haha, Carmine, haha.
I imagine that, to quote the Carpetbaggers, he thinks he just wants to see a lot of lovely ceilings. So to speak.
Right.
He just wants to like lie there, and that's what he wants. He wants to see a lot of lovely ceilings as he's being taken through Europe and being treated like royalty, so to speak. So,
right.
In the end, you'll see how it works out for him. See how it works out.
Okay. Okay. We'll get there. All right. So anyway, but yeah, moving forward. Yeah. So then we get Richie. Yeah. I forgot how much I loved Ron Howard as Richie Cunningham.
Yes.
And, and it's kind of sad to consider that he became something of a bit of an underrated actor.
Yeah.
In some respects,
Yeah.
because he is a very talented director.
Yes.
I remember we were talking with the These Are Our Days podcast hosts on the Gary Marshall piece about how
These are ours.
there has been a shift, obviously, in Ron's directorial career.
Yeah.
But as an actor, his dry delivery is so delightful here, and it's so cute. It's like I wish that I would love to see him play old man roles now today.
Yeah.
With that same sense of humor, and just and it's still a little gee gosh,
Yeah.
And it's great, and it contrasts wonderfully with Shirley in the little black dress and her scarf.
Yeah. Anything but murder, mister. Anything but murder,
Oh
mister.
my God.
She's just like wonderful.
It's so adorable. I mean, it's so adorable. I mean, all together, the whole foursome of them through the episode is so cute.
Yeah.
And it's really, that's really what touched my heart and why I love this episode, I think, so much. I mean, the dance is this great, set piece, but the four of them are just so wonderful together, and they bounce off each other so well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a beautiful cross chemistry here. What's interesting to me is how the guys are in this. They're in on this, in a way, just so they can, be doing something nice for these girls. In a way, they're not like expecting anything more than maybe a kiss. Potsie's definitely not expecting a kiss. Potsie's kind of scared of Laverne, which is really funny. To me, it's just really funny because she's this tough girl who beat the crap out of his ex-date, so to speak. Just because she called her a bimbo. Never call her a bimbo. You don't call a Fernandes a bimbo, you die. And that's what happens.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to that probably in another episode or two.
Oh yeah. What's interesting to me is that the girls' Happy Days canon is continuity here, and it's discontinuity.
Yes.
Because it's definitely mentioned that Shirley went on a date with Richie, but she was definitely not the same character. Definitely not the same character. If you watch those, I know you haven't seen it yet. You haven't seen the episodes yet, but she's definitely not. She's definitely not the Shirley Feeney who waits for the wedding nights and is innocent and loves her stuffed kitty and all that stuff. She punches out teenagers.
Yeah, I guess a lot can happen to a lot can happen to somebody in 11 and a half months.
It's like a reverse Roxy Latour. This is funny to me. It'll be funny to Chris later. It'll be funny to Chris in 2 seasons. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still cute. I mean, seeing Shirley throw on the charm, and it's like, chips. Oh, gee, thanks. Dip. Oh, maybe on the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole the I was just playing him with the it's like, I'm sure you also have have another handsome friend, or sweet friend that could take Laverne to the dance. Oh, Ralph Mouth? No. That delivery is wonderful, and I love how it's so overboard, and yet Richie is still falling for it throughout.
Yeah. Like I said, the chemistry between Ron Howard and Cindy Williams remains off the charts. It's just really nice.
It does, yeah, and
it's just really nice.
It is. I'm just kind of still in shock, at how good it is, and that they, it's one of those. I think if Happy Days had been able to, not had been able to, if it had, been driven off, if the shark jump had truly destroyed the show, or if something like it had destroyed the show sooner, I wonder if at that time that they would have moved Richie into Laverne and Shirley as a regular, because he fits in so well with this show, because you could see the style difference, but it works amazingly.
What would be interesting about that? You could completely picture him. He becomes he wanted to be a reporter. He becomes a reporter on the downtown beat, and he's always there trying to get scoops. That would have been interesting. That would have been very interesting.
Yeah, because then you could even have the girls, suspect that there's a crime going on. There's a big scoop, and get him involved in some poor Richie involved in some madcap insanity because of it.
Yep. Why you girls dragging me into this? Why the heck's happening?
Yep.
This is interesting episode-wise because this is Shirley, who is normally not as like intensely forward in the girls' scheming, unless she like really, really wants the thing. She's driving this one. She's got the reins and she's flicking them, and she's pushing their cart and their horses as fast forward as she can in the scheme, and that's an interesting fact. That's an interesting one. I thought that it's an interesting and unique twist.
It feels as if Shirley is just much more, in some respects, much more intense, which I like is the switch of that intensity happening when they make it to the dance. I thought was kind of cool. It's like she has this, because of the fact that she is in this control mode, I'm going to control this narrative, control this piece, and control these components. And she's even, like when the boy is coming to pick them up for the date, she makes Laverne pose. So it's like she's constantly like not even being aware of how the other people are reacting in her scheme, and then when the dance actually gets there, and then when the fly in the ointment, or the wrench in the works happens, that then it becomes Laverne's sort of leading the charge, which I thought it was cool. That's another reason I also like this episode. They both kind of get an equal measure of agency. It felt like, or at the very least, they're equally tenacious through the episode.
Yeah. It's one of those episodes where everybody's on the same team in a way. Like Carmine's on there with them. The girls are on the same team. I'm sure the boys would be there trying to scheme along with them. They don't show up in this episode,
right?
And what's very interesting about is that there is no hey, you shouldn't be doing this. From the moral majority, so to speak, whatever the heck the moral majority in this sitcom would be. But there's nobody saying, hey, don't do that. Hey, don't do that. That's bad.
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that Jefferson beat Fillmore High? That's why it's a victory dance?
Yeah. There you go.
Because for those that have been keeping track at home, or have not been keeping track, but Fillmore is where where Laverne and Shirley went, and I think by extension then Carmine
and the boys.
So that means that they essentially are going to their rival school, and then winning the victory dance and taking one of those TVs.
Yeah. Lenny and Squiggy went
beating up one of the teenagers.
Lenny and Squiggy went to that high school too. They all went together through high school.
Oh boy!
And Squiggy was the valedictorian. That's all I gotta say.
Again, that says a lot, and it concerns me about that school board and the curriculum and the teachers.
Yeah.
And yet he didn't graduate as well either. That was the gag.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah. He didn't graduate. He and Lenny allegedly didn't graduate high school, but then they did graduate high school. It depends on which episode you're watching, because book problems. But yeah, they all went through school together. They went from first grade all the way through high school and graduated together. So they all went to Fillmore together.
Man. Yeah, it's definitely, I love that they are able to still have, that element of they're still connected to those high school roots, and as you're saying, like there's that bond, and how that Carmine's in on the gag. It makes me wonder, like, if I think it's good that Lenny and Squeaky aren't in this episode, as much as that might be a shocking revelation. But it's I think it would have overloaded the narrative a little bit. That's kind of more when you get into like having to have a B plot. And this was kind of nice, is this all focuses on an A plot. It allows it to just stay totally focused on the girls' goal with a little bit of, sight gags to kind of flesh it out on the sides. And but then it all leads into, the big moment, the big dance itself after Laverne, takes what's her name is Debbie, right?
Yes.
And takes her aside, and then comes back, rolls
Definitely.
down.
Definitely.
Gosh. And then and then the big moment happens, and she's got to substitute in Richie, and Ron and her just do an amazing job through the dance. It's God. It's So are there going to be more kind of dance choreography moments like this coming up?
Oh yes, bunches.
Man, I'm looking forward to that.
Gary Marshall always had all the actors write down what they could do physically, what they could do, all of their talents, and then eventually the writers would work them into episodes. Like, for instance, like Penny can dance. She had professional training, so she dances in the show. Michael can juggle. That shows up in the show. So it's interesting what they choose and use in there. But we get lots of musical numbers. We get full on operetta in the 7th season.
Oh wow!
So
Excellent.
full on operetta. We get a lot of musical episodes, musical segments. So it's coming. Yeah, wait for it, but it's coming.
Nice, man. I'm excited. And yeah, I mean, it's good to hear because I mean, this was just so well. It's incredibly well executed. The timing's wonderful, incredible coordination. I love even also that this is stylistically, directorially speaking, this is a little more complicated at times. You know, it's great use of wide shots. There's that wonderful dolly move they do across the side as they're doing the spins, spinning each other around, which that's fantastic. I love doing. I think that's what they call like a lateral dolly move. The way that like Wes Anderson moves his camera. Those moves for that type of continuous follow motion is just beautiful to me.
Yeah.
And I resisted mentioning multiple action movies that have done that same thing.
You should do it. Like, do it. Because I wonder what they learned from that, so to speak. You know what I mean? I wonder if they saw this episode and eventually when they became adults, they wove it right into the action, so to speak. Or maybe they worked on the sitcom.
I mean, I don't know if, Richard Marquand was thinking of that during the lightsaber battle with Vader and Luke at the end. You know the shot I'm talking about, that dolly move underneath where they're kind of fighting underneath.
Yes. But to be fair, there is a connection, an easy connection between Star Wars and Laverne and Shirley.
Mm-hmm.
Super easy connection. Yeah, I don't know if you can. Can you Kevin Bacon it? I bet you can Kevin Bacon it.
Well, Kevin Bacon it. Well, I mean, obviously is that we have the main obvious one for this episode is that it's got Ron Howard, and Ron Howard directed Solo. But in terms of the classic Star Wars, that would be Cindy Williams and Ron Howard being in American Graffiti, which is directed by George Lucas, who directed Star Wars. So therefore, by extension, gave Return of the Jedi to Richard Marquand. I think it's Marquand or Marquand. I don't actually know how to pronounce his name. I haven't watched the documentaries on that film in a long time. There's multiple different leaps that can be made. I mean, that's the thing about Star Wars now is that it's.
I was gonna say I could do an even quicker one.
Okay, okay. See what you got.
Carrie Fisher guest stars in a season 8 episode of this show. She's Penny Marshall's best friend, or was. And from her to Lucas, and from Lucas to them. There you go.
Man,
less than 3 moves.
Bada bing. I'm impressed.
Yeah.
It's always nice to have an impressive co-host. So, anyways, speaking of Gary, though, hey, that was him on the drums in the back, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. He shows up in both Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days as a drummer at important moments during both shows, which I thought was really nice, really interesting. Cool, Gary.
That's cute. That's always great. And especially after watching the retrospective, it was great to see him there.
Yes. The retrospective is amazing.
It is really good. Yeah. I'm hoping by now that it'll be in full available somewhere for people to watch because it's good stuff.
It's currently streaming on Hulu.
Ah, okay. Good.
For those who want it.
As of this recording, which is quite a ways probably from when this episode's going to air. Now that I'm thinking about how many weeks it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be up anywhere permanently.
But speaking of permanently, though, we're definitely not going to be able to forget the moments towards the end of this episode. The way that when all is said and done, they've got their TV and the boys are expectant. The door slam for attention, and well, we were gonna, and we both shaved, and And
Your expression is really good.
It really is.
Oh, it's good. I love it.
Trying to be clever, and it's just I love how Laverne turns it around, scare him good. Anson's delivery, good night, and then leaving out the door. Oh, it killed me when I came back to this episode again. Oh, it was so good.
It's perfect.
Yeah. And it was. I was curious what your thought was on Shirley. We talked about how she's more scheming and everything, but that the way it ends with her and with Shirley and Richie, I thought was rather sweet. And I was curious what your take was on that, how it lands.
It was nice that she finally comes in with a genuine gesture. She finally comes to him and says, well, this is because I want to.
Yeah.
This is because of the scheme.
Yeah. Quite possibly,
And,
it's quite possibly one of the most romantic things you could ever say to anyone, because I wanted to. It's something I've
yeah.
always longed to hear.
Yes. Yeah. It's a lovely line, and it's a beautiful gesture. That's why I enjoy these characters together. I won't say that it tops Shirley and Carmine for me, but it's a lot less complicated than Shirley and Carmine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because, it's going to get complicated, kids. We're going to ford that river when it comes. We're going to ford that river.
Oh boy, I remember how that used to go on Oregon Trail.
Yeah. Try not to drown your oxen, kids.
I have never heard that phrase before.
Hey, that's what happens if you try to ford the river. Everybody's dying in the back of the wagon. All the oxen are drowning.
Yeah, I know. I remember that part. I'm thinking phrasing it like that. It's like sometimes you got to drown your oxen, kids. Like, oh my god.
No, I said try not to drown your oxen.
Try not. Okay,
kids.
sorry. I'm sorry. That was okay. Okay.
I'm not encouraging oxen murder.
No. Okay.
Okay.
We're leaving that in. We're so leaving that in. Anyway, but
I was gonna say
mm-hmm.
we forgot the really classic line when Carmine walks up to Shirley and goes, "Hi, Angel Face," and Richie goes, "Hi."
Well, and see, I'm going to be a journalist, and so I was practicing being witty.
Yeah, honey, Richie.
Oh, Richie.
Richie's the best. So you forget how good, like you said, rather, that you forget how good he is in this show and in this sitcom Milo, because you're so used to Oscar-winning Oscar-winning director Ron Howard, and you're like, oh yeah, he can act. He's been acting a long time.
I mean, arguably he was able to direct a Star Wars movie, but frankly, I would love to see him in a Star Wars movie at this point. He'd be great. Like, he'd be excellent on The Mandalorian, to be honest.
Yes.
Like playing as like an Andy Griffith gone, a little dark small town sheriff that the Mando has to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on,
that would be cool.
Come on, Favreau, Filoni, get on that.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm surprised he hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he hasn't shown up yet.
As far as I know, I think he did it as a favor. Solo, I think, was a favor for Kathleen, to be honest.
Yeah.
Is my understanding.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah. But anyways.
Everything with Solo was kind of a morass. So,
yeah. Oh man, that's another discussion for a different podcast. But yeah, that was sorry folks, while we're recording this is also the Snyder cut business just broke recently, so the director's cuts and film behind the scenes shenanigans have been on our mind. But also Ron Howard is but back on track. Ron Howard is also really good at delivering such silly lines as "nice closet."
I love that kiss. Kind of takes him so far out of his head that he just walks in the closets and out the door. That's cute. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite. This kiss was so awesome. I no longer know how to purse him. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That happens a few times in the show. I'll point out my favorite when it happens. But
it's a good one.
It really is.
It really is. Yeah. And I thought it was interesting how the story concluded in a way where the girls definitely, the guys didn't get nothing. And so, there's, when Shirley has that bit about, I don't know if it was fair. And then they go for the punchline of, oh my God, look at that picture. It looks so good. It feels okay. Like, I was personally okay with that because, the guys got to have a story. They got to have an adventure and they'll never forget it. And they were able to do something nice for the girls. I like that Richie even took it in stride that he was totally aware of what was going on and it's like you were aware of it. And it's like, yeah, well, how long? It was, of course, I'm a senior, and it's
not that dumb.
Yeah,
he's a senior and a journalist. He's not that dumb.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh God, that poor guy. If he's getting into journalism in the '60s. Oh boy, that just no. I just thought, oh poor Richie. Oh God, no.
Yeah. It's just as bad as putting Lenny and Squiggy in the army like several years before Vietnam.
Yeah.
It's like
and not even that long before I mean, because about the time that he joins the reserves, that was when the first operations were first starting to happen. But again, that's
Oh man.
because I think the event that takes place in We Were Soldiers, that Mel Gibson movie, I think that was in 58 or 59. I want to say maybe 1960.
Yeah.
But it was, and that was huge. That was the first major, like, sorry, tangent. I'm sorry, but yeah, and I'm sure.
No. It's okay. It's okay.
It's also, I need to be careful because I know that military history is like one of the deepest pits of stitch counters. I want to be very careful about what I say. Don't worry, I'm leaving this all in. There's some mistakes I will leave in.
It's all good. It's all good. We're good. So, where would you rank this one?
For me, it's 7.5, probably an 8 in some respects, because just there was so much I liked about it. You know, I think that extra point just from the Happy Days crossover factor.
Yeah, it's a solid 8 for me. Lots of little fun lines, great choreography. So one of my favorite crossover episodes, I think this might be my favorite crossover episode, except for Fonzie's funeral, which happens in Happy Days down the line, where the girls show up. Fonzie fakes his death, and the girls and the boys go to his funeral. And Laverne tries to rip off her L and put it on the casket.
Oh no!
Because she's so moved.
Oh boy.
That's probably my favorite out of all of them. But yeah,
nice.
Yeah, it's a darn good episode. It's a darn good experience, and this is a darn good season. So we're gonna get a lot of high points here. The low points will come. Sadly, the low points will come.
Yeah, but I mean, so far though, I mean, I'm greatly enjoying it. I mean, we're 4 episodes in, and I mean, this is, gosh, and it's a really good time. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's not like it's, you know, hit us with anything too emotionally heavy. So it's it's good times ahead.
That's coming.
Oh dear.
That's coming.
Oh dear.
That's
oh
coming.
Dear. Oh dear. Okay.
Prep for the feels. Prep for the feels.
I might need a pillow. I might need some Pepsi and milk. I might need a little boo-boo kitty. Oh dear. But anyways, but what is ahead next for next week?
Next week, the girls go to a bridal shower, which is the episode is titled.
Oh yeah.
And they have to deal with being the only 2 single girls in the room.
Oof. That's oof.
Meanwhile, the boys try to break a marshmallow stuffing record.
Oh no, they do the Chubby Bunny thing?
Yeah, they do the Chubby Bunny thing. Lenny does.
Don't play Chubby Bunny. It's not, no, don't do that, kids. Cool, but awesome. Okay, so that sounds good. We'll get some girls being the girls, you know, around other girls, which is, I like those episodes. I like those more feminine driven episodes. That should be a good time.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I guess that's something awesome and fun to look forward to. And I guess, that should be us. That should be it from us today. And if you would like to continue the discussion with us, you may find us on Twitter at NightAfterNightPC. And we're also on Night After Night Pod on things like Facebook and Tumblr. And as well as we have our Patreon. So please do check that out. And please think of supporting us because we do have some incentives for bonus episodes down the line that we would like to do. And, we're still just trying to do what we can to do the show and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, I think that's kind of it for us today. But thank you again so much for joining us. We hope you had a good time. And just, remember, be good to each other, good to yourself. And appreciate good closets. Good closets need appreciation, too. I think Richie was on to something.
And remember, viewers, if you engage a couple of teenagers in a dance contest, don't punch out their date. You don't want to go up the river and end up in juvie.